All right, let's dive into something that's quietly changing your entire digital life in India. We're talking about the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. Think of it as your brand new, powerful digital shield.
You know the drill, right? You download a new app, you sign up for some service, and you're hit with this wall of text. So you scroll, 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 and you click, I agree. But what on earth did you just agree to? Where is your data actually going? For way too long, that's been a huge gray area, and frankly, a huge risk for all of us.
And there's a powerful name for this risk: data diversion. Just think about it for a second. If someone diverted funds from a company bank account, we'd all immediately call it what it is: fraud. Well, this is the digital version of that. When your personal data gets used for things you never agreed to, it's a kind of digital fraud, and it completely shatters trust.
So, to fight back against this, India has brought in the DPDP Act 2023. And let me be clear, this is not just another piece of regulation. It's a fundamental shift in thinking. It's designed from the ground up to be a protective shield for every single citizen's data online. So, how does it work? Well, it really boils down to three main goals. First, and most obviously, to protect your personal data. Second, by doing that, it wants to build real trust, to make our digital economy a place where you feel safe. And third, to make sure there's real accountability. No more passing the buck when things go wrong.
Now, to really get how this shield protects you, you've got to know who the main players are. The entire act is built around defining who's who and who's responsible for what. So let's meet the cast of characters on this new digital stage.
First up, and this is the most important one, the data principle. This one's super easy to remember because it's you. It's me. It's every one of us whose data is being collected and used. Under this new law, you are the one with the rights.
Next, we have the data fiduciary. This is the company, the app, the organization, the entity that decides why they need your data and how they're going to process it. They are the main custodians, and the buck stops with them. They are the ones legally responsible for protecting your information.
And finally, you might have a data processor. This could be a totally different company, maybe a cloud provider or an analytics firm that handles the data on behalf of the fiduciary. They're working on instructions, but that doesn't let them off the hook. They also have a big responsibility to keep your data safe. Okay, so we know the players. Now let's get into the new rules of the game. The DPDP Act is built on a few core, non-negotiable principles that completely change how companies have to handle your information. Think of these as the four pillars holding the whole thing up. First, a company needs a legitimate, lawful purpose. No more collecting data just in case. Second, they are limited to that purpose. So if you give them your address for delivery, they can't suddenly start using it for marketing. Third, data minimization. They can only collect what is absolutely essential for that purpose and nothing more. And finally, they are fully accountable for keeping it all secure.
And at the very heart of all these rules is one single idea: your consent. This has always been a really fuzzy, confusing area, but not anymore. The DPDP Act gives the whole concept of consent a massive and much-needed upgrade.
So what does valid consent even mean now? Well, it has to be freely given. You can't be forced into it. It has to be specific to the exact purpose they told you about. You have to be truly informed in simple language about what you're agreeing to. And it has to be a clear, unambiguous yes. That means, and this is huge, no more pre-checked boxes and no more confusing legal jargon designed to trick you. And this, right here, is probably the biggest game changer of all. Your silence is not consent. Not using a service is not consent. From now on, you have to do something, a clear affirmative action, like actively ticking a box or clicking a button that says, I consent. The whole era of just assuming consent is over. So, what does this all really mean for you, the data principle? Well, it means you're not just being defended anymore. You are now being armed. The shield isn't just passive protection. It gives you active tools to take control of your own digital footprint. Let's talk about your new data superpowers. First, you have the right to information. You can now go to a company and say, hey, give me a summary of all the data you have on me and tell me what you're doing with it. Even better, you have the right to correction and erasure. If your data is wrong, they have to fix it. And once they don't need it for the original purpose anymore, you can tell them to delete it. So think about that food delivery app you stopped using. You can now demand they wipe your entire address and order history from their servers.
for good. Okay, so what if companies don't play by these new rules? What happens if they're careless and fail to protect your data? Well, the DPDP Act isn't just asking nicely. It's backing up these rules with some of the biggest penalties India has ever seen, making accountability a very real and very expensive proposition. First, let's get on the same page about what a breach actually is. Under the Act, it's any unauthorized event that messes with your data. Was it kept confidential? Was its integrity maintained? Meaning, was it accurate? Was it available when it was supposed to be? A no to any of those questions can mean a breach has occurred. And if a breach does happen, the company's obligations are crystal clear. They must tell the new Data Protection Board of India, and they must tell every single person who was affected. That means you. No more sweeping breaches under the rug. This mandatory notification is a huge step for transparency. So what is the price of failure? What's the cost of not taking this seriously? Well, for failing to protect data, the penalty can go all the way up to this number, 250 crore rupees. And let's be really clear about what that staggering number is for. That penalty of up to 250 crores isn't just for having a data breach. It's for the failure to take reasonable security safeguards to prevent one in the first place. The law is punishing the negligence that made the breach possible. For companies, this means data security is no longer just a best practice. It's a high-stakes financial must-do. This is what gives the shield its teeth. So, there you have it. The DPDP Act completely rewrites the rules of the road for data, it creates real accountability, and most importantly, it puts you back in the driver's seat. It's an incredibly powerful shield. But, like any tool, how effective it is really depends on the person who's wielding it. The question is no longer just what companies can do with your data, it's what are you going to do with your new rights?